when I saw the nanny swap her child with my younger sister. I was just about to switch them back when I saw a bunch of bullet screen comments. This is the beginning of Shin Ning's nightmare. Right. Actually, her biological sister is a born bad seed. At 3 years old, she'll stab her sister in the eye with a fork. At 10, she'll put mercury in her sister's milk. At 18, to have sole inheritance rights, she'll sell her sister to an impoverished, mountainous area. Unlike the nanny's girl, who is a total sister con. Who to choose as a sister is entirely up to Shinning now. I quickly put the baby down. Actually, blood ties aren't that important, are they? What matters most is who is closest to me. When my mother was pushed into the delivery room, my father and I were restless in the hospital corridor. The doctor's reminder before entering the emergency room kept echoing in my mind. He said the baby's position wasn't great, and a natural birth might turn into a C-section. He told us to be prepared. We waited for nearly 4 hours. Finally, my father and I heard a baby's cry. Mother and daughter were safe. When the nurse pushed my mother and little sister out, my mother was still under anesthesia, completely unconscious, back in the hospital room. The nanny, Aunt Lee, who had been waiting since early morning, immediately came forward to take care of my mother. My father quickly refused. No, you just had a baby yourself. You should go rest first. As it happened, Aunt Lee and my mother had given birth on the same day, but she had a natural delivery and had come out of the delivery room much earlier. She was still very agile. After wiping herself clean, she hurried to my mother's room. When my father said that, she waved her hand dismissively. We country folk aren't so delicate. When my mother-in-law had my husband, she was out in the fields planting vegetables the very next day. Aunt Lee's honest husband nodded vigorously beside her, even though my father wanted to refuse. Aunt Lee had already taken the warm towel from his hand and was wiping the cold sweat from my mother's forehead. Aunt Lee also pushed me forward. Ning Ning is still young. She must be hungry and uncomfortable after going so long without eating. You should take Ning Ning out to get something to eat. She said my father was a clumsy man and would just be in the way. Standing in the hospital room, my father looked awkward, but his brow relaxed a little. Clearly, he was quite happy that Aunt Lee had taken the initiative to stay and care for my mother. Besides, Aunt Lee had worked for our family for many years and had never made a mistake. After hesitating for a moment, my father agreed. We'll be back soon. Then he picked me up and left. On the way, he said, Ning Ning, look how good Aunt Lee is to you. In the future, you mustn't bully Aunt Lee's little sister. I obediently nodded, but when we reached the car, my father realized he had forgotten his car keys. Just then, his phone rang. He pointed to the inpatient building and quietly told me to go back upstairs and get the keys for him. Luckily, I remembered the way back to the room. I ran back to the room lightly, but found the door locked. I had just stood on tiptoe to knock, asking Aunt Lee to open the door for me. Then, through the glass, I saw her pick up the baby lying next to my mother. She then placed a stranger's baby in the spot where my sister should have been. She even carefully swapped the ID bands on the baby's wrists. My eyes widened in shock. I held my breath, tense all over. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a man staggering towards me. I instinctively opened the door of the next room and hid inside. It was Aunt Lee's husband. Through the gap in the not-quite-closed door, I heard Aunt Lee, holding the baby, complain constantly to her husband. I told you to guard the door, but you had to go and run off to the bathroom. What if the Shen family finds out we swapped the babies? If we get caught, we'll both be in big trouble. Your daughter won't get to be a rich young lady anymore. Aunt Lee's husband smiled apologetically. Oh, come on. I watched them go downstairs to the car. How could they come back? Don't scare yourself. Their voices faded away. I tremblingly left the room where I had hidden, shaking like a leaf. I was so scared I couldn't stop crying. I went to my mother's bedside and pushed her repeatedly, trying to wake her up and tell her the babies had been swapped. But my mother was still under the anesthesia. She was completely out of it, no matter how much I pushed. She wouldn't wake up. I gritted my teeth and decided to pick up the swapped baby and swap my sister back. But in that instant, countless lines of text, like bullet screen comments, inexplicably appeared before my eyes. Go ahead, swap back your family's born bad seed. Then you'll be sorry. These bizarrely appearing texts seemed fixed in front of my eyes. Even if I waved my hand to disperse them, they would reappear within seconds. And the content of the texts became more and more terrifying. That bad seed. At 3, will stab her sister's eye with a fork. At 10, she'll put mercury in her sister's milk. Her sister is lucky to survive to adulthood. Yeah, just barely to adulthood. At 18, the bad seed sister will sell her to an impoverished mountainous area. If I were her, I definitely wouldn't swap them back. The nanny's sister con. Obedient girl is so much better. At least you don't have to worry about dying one day. My hand, reaching to pick up the baby and swap my real sister back, stopped in midair. I didn't know what these strange, sudden texts were, but I grew more and more afraid. If I swapped my sister back, would the things they said really happen to me? Living in unease and danger until I turned 18. Then being sold to an impoverished mountainous area by my sister before I could even enjoy the world. I instinctively wanted to wake my mother, but no matter what, she wouldn't open her eyes. I could only clench my skirt, squat on the ground, and cry loudly. Before my sister was born, my parents told me countless times to be good to my sister, because I was the older sister. Older sisters are naturally supposed to be good to their younger sisters. I knew I should run to the hospital front desk and tell the adults there that my sister had been swapped. But I was too scared. I didn't dare. I was terrified that if I swapped my sister back, she would ruin my future. I cried until my eyes were red, sobbing, out of breath. Just then, my father came huffing and puffing up the stairs. He had just scolded me for dawdling upstairs so long just to get his keys. Then the next second, he saw me crying so hard I might faint. He quickly held me and comforted me. What's wrong? Ning Ning? Don't cry. Don't cry. Did someone bully you? I clutched my father's collar and cried, shaking my head. It took a while for me to catch my breath. Then, with red eyes, I made up an excuse. No, I just suddenly missed Mom. My father sighed helplessly, patted my head, and called me a mama's girl. Then he said, "Let Mom and the baby get some good rest," and picked me up and left. Before closing the door, I turned my head and looked at the crib. I saw the nanny's baby awake. Her big, black and white eyes stared straight at me. She smiled, showing her soft, pink gums. In that moment, I suddenly made a decision. Take a gamble. Trust the bullet screen comments, this once. Surviving is what matters most. The events of the following years made me incredibly grateful for the decision I made as a young child. Because by hiding the fact that Aunt Lee had swapped my sister, she was able to stay on as our nanny. To verify the truth of the bullet screen comments, and to ensure my real sister wasn't completely lost. I even suggested to my parents that Aunt Lee bring her daughter, Lee Mingyu, to live with us so she could better balance work and family. And precisely because of this, I confirmed that those bullet screen comments back then really hadn't lied to me. Lee Mingyu was truly a born bad seed. When she was still an infant, Aunt Lee's daughter, now my sister Shin-chi, was an angel baby. She rarely needed night feedings, didn't fuss, and would smile at us when she was full. Lee Mingyu, however, couldn't stand being put down in her crib. She would only sleep if someone held her. Otherwise, she would scream at the top of her lungs, leaving Aunt Lee with lingering back pain from her postpartum month. As they grew older, the contrast between the two children became more and more apparent. Shen-Chi started feeding herself very early. Although she ate slowly and occasionally spilled some, she wasn't picky and would sit obediently. Li Mingyu, at 3 years old, still needed Aunt Li to feed her. And when Aunt Li was a fraction of a second slow, Li Mingyu grabbed her child's fork and stabbed it deep into Aunt Li's eye. Blood gushed everywhere. This left Aunt Li with permanent vision damage in her right eye. It was nearly half blind. At that moment, I struggled to cover my mouth to keep from screaming. Thank goodness I hadn't swapped the children back then. Otherwise, I would have been the one blinded. Aunt Li got what she deserved. As Li Mingyu grew, her lack of empathy and cruelty became more and more apparent, and her destructive power grew stronger. At 10, Li Mingyu smashed a thermometer at home and poured the leaking mercury into Aunt Li's thermos. If Aunt Li hadn't gotten her stomach pumped in time, she probably would have died that day. We all witnessed what Li Mingyu did to Aunt Li, and her frequent, severe acts of beating her classmates over those 18 years. Whenever I saw her like that, and then looked at Shin-Chi, who followed me around like a little shadow, excelled in character and studies, my parents couldn't help but sigh. Li Mingyu, her fate is truly bitter. But I couldn't help sneering in my heart. Serves her right. If she hadn't come up with such a vicious plan to swap the babies, I would be the one suffering. Our family would be the one suffering. So, before Shin-Chi's 18th birthday, as I was discussing with my parents how to hold a grand adult ceremony for her, Li Mingyu suddenly barged into our house, shouting that she was the real daughter who had been swapped at birth, and that Shin-Chi was the fake. My parents' first reaction was that she was lying. When we didn't believe her, Li Mingyu pulled out a video and showed it to my parents. Her eyes, full of jealousy and hatred, glared straight at my sister, as if she wanted to devour her. Then, she gritted her teeth and said, "Shin-Chi is a thief. She and her mother stole my parents and my life. I am your real daughter. She is the fake." Startled by Li Mingyu's words, my parents instinctively turned to look at my sister. I frowned and shielded my sister behind me. Aunt Li, the nanny, panicked and screamed at Li Mingyu, calling her nonsense. But Li Mingyu slapped her hard. Aunt Li stumbled, nearly falling, her right cheek swelling badly. "Stop pretending. You swapped me with Shin-Chi. You're the reason I haven't been able to live a rich young lady's life." At the same time, the video started playing. It was a recording of her conversation with Aunt Li. In the video, Li Mingyu roared, "How dare you hit me? I am your daughter." Aunt Li laughed contemptuously. "My daughter isn't a cheap thing like you. You can't guess, can you? I swapped my daughter with Mrs. Shun's daughter at the hospital. She's already been sent off to live a good life." Aunt Li's face turned ashen. She lunged to grab Li Mingyu's phone, but Li Mingyu kicked her away. Aunt Li hit her head on the coffee table, rolled her eyes back, and passed out. Li Mingyu's eyes, glaring at my sister behind me, were filled with jealousy. "See, I've shown the evidence. This proves I am the Shun family's daughter, right? Dad, Mom, Sister, I should be the real Shin-Chi." My parents clenched their hands tightly, unable to speak for a long time. I could see their fingers trembling. I knew they didn't want to admit that the lunatic Li Mingyu was my sister, but the resemblance was too strong. Li Mingyu looked too much like my mother when she was young. They didn't even have the courage to deny it. In the silent living room, I slowly exhaled. I held my sister's trembling hand behind me and said calmly, "An audio recording isn't much evidence. Let's do a paternity test." Li Mingyu's eyes lit up. She nodded immediately. "Fine." She was very confident. She believed that she would definitely be recognized by her parents and get to live the life of a rich young lady. But my expression remained unchanged as I glanced past her excited face and pressed my lips together. Li Mingyu seemed to have forgotten that Shen Qi was the one our family had spent 18 years nurturing as heir. She had received all our love and affection. The affection born from years together is sometimes no lighter than the affection of blood ties. Add to that Li Mingyu's own personality. My parents might not necessarily choose her over Shinchi. Before the paternity test results came out, Li Mingyu began openly acting as the Shen family's youngest daughter outside. She spread the word at school that Shinchi was the nanny's daughter. Because of the nanny swap, Shinchi had been able to live a good life. No one believed this at first. They even went to Shinchi to ask her directly, but Shinchi remained silent. As time passed, the rumor became accepted as truth. Led by Li Mingyu, those people isolated Shinchi, making her more and more withdrawn. I only found out about the bullying later. That day, I took Shinchi to a hot spring hotel. When she changed her clothes, I saw bruises all over her arms. I tensed up immediately. What happened to your arms? At first, Shinchi made excuses, saying she had accidentally bumped into something. But even a bad bump couldn't leave an entire arm covered in bruises. After I kept pressing, Shinchi bit her lip and whispered, Li Mingyu brought people to beat me. They deliberately used the sharp corners of thick books to hit Shinchi, laughing and calling her a nobody that no one wanted. My face darkened. I didn't speak for a moment. Shinchi got anxious. Her eyes reddened terribly. I'm sorry, sister. I won't speak badly of Li Mingyu again. Please don't be angry. My sister actually thought my anger was because she had revealed Li Mingyu's cruelty to me, especially when she said, in a voice as soft as a mosquito, It's okay, sister. I stole Li Mingyu's life. It's only natural she hates me. Only then did I understand. No wonder she had become so silent lately. She no longer clung to me and acted cute like before. She kept shutting herself in her room, refusing to appear in front of us. My sister had loved to cling to me since childhood. She liked me more than our parents. When she suddenly became cold and distant, I thought it was because she knew Aunt Lee was her real mother and wanted to leave us to go back to her. But I didn't realize she was just racked with guilt. She was sad because she had stolen Li Mingyu's life. She felt that we were Li Mingyu's family and that she shouldn't occupy us any longer. She even silently endured Li Mingyu's bullying, thinking of it as atonement. I was angry and helpless. In the end, I just sighed and gently stroked my sister's head. I said, You don't need to think about that. Even if Mom and Dad really do acknowledge Li Mingyu, she has no right to do anything to you. Shenqi, you are my only sister. As far back as 18 years ago, when I witnessed Aunt Lee swapping the babies and, paralyzed by fear, didn't switch them back, I had already given up on Li Mingyu. Besides, I would never tell my sister, as long as I was around. That bad seed, Li Mingyu, had no chance of returning to the Shen family. But that night, I received a phone call from my parents. Their voices were anxious. Oh no, Ningning, Aunt Lee is in the hospital. I was stunned. What happened? Mom and Dad said, It's Li Mingyu. She took a kitchen knife and nearly stabbed Aunt Lee to death. My sister and I had to cut our vacation short and drive home that night. The lights in the emergency room were on. From my parents' account, I learned what had happened. To be fair, Aunt Lee, who was capable of swapping her employer's baby, wasn't a good person herself. So when my parents told me that Aunt Lee had been stabbed because she demanded money from Li Mingyu, I felt not particularly surprised. Last night, while my sister and I were vacationing at the Hot Spring Hotel, Aunt Lee had gone into Li Mingyu's room and demanded 1,000,000 yuan. She said, Even if I'm not your real mother, I spent a lot of money raising you. You have to compensate me. Otherwise, Tomorrow, I'll take the injury report and go to the media. Expose you as an animal who attacked your adoptive mother. Once your reputation is ruined, do you think the Shin family will still take you back? If Aunt Lee had threatened a normal person, she might have succeeded, but she threatened a born bad seed. The several stab wounds on her body were Lee Mingyu's answer. When the doctor took off his mask and told us the patient was out of danger, my expression remained cold. I contacted our family lawyer. I told him to sue Aunt Lee once she woke up for deliberately taking the Shun family's baby and for attempted extortion. The lawyer, woken from sleep, lived up to his six-figure monthly salary. His attitude was impeccable. After agreeing to everything, he asked me how to handle the matter of Lee Mingyu's assault. She and my sister had the same birthday. Her 18th birthday was not far off. Even if we called the police now, her sentence would be based on juvenile sentencing standards. I hesitated for a moment, then told the lawyer to hold off for now. The lawyer seemed to understand and fell silent. My parents were older and couldn't stay up late. My sister had school the next day. Not wanting them to go home and be with Lee Mingyu, I found a hotel near the hospital. I went home alone. The living room was a mess, a lingering scene of the panic when the ambulance took Aunt Lee away. As I walked upstairs, I heard Lee Mingyu humming a song. Her room hadn't been cleaned up yet. I could still see splattered blood. Lee Mingyu had changed her clothes. Her pure white pajamas made her look harmless and innocent. Seeing me, she tilted her head and smiled brightly. "Sister, you're back. Did you go out with that bitch Shinchi?" I frowned and didn't answer directly. "I just got back from the hospital." Lee Mingyu said, "Oh, the hospital. So you went to see Li Qian? She's not dead." She sighed, as if annoyed. So unfortunate. She kept struggling, and I didn't hit her artery. So she lived. She didn't seem to know that killing someone is illegal. She was just regretting her technique wasn't clean and lethal enough to kill Aunt Lee. I pressed my lips together, calmed myself, and asked her why she had attacked Aunt Lee. Even if she was being blackmailed, why not call the police? Lee Mingyu looked at me as if I had said something unbelievable. She tilted her head, eyes wide. "Because I hate her. I want her to die." But for those 18 years, because I had insisted that Aunt Lee bring Lee Mingyu to live with us, she never dared to secretly abuse Lee Mingyu. Instead, because of Lee Mingyu's violence towards her since childhood, Aunt Lee had grown afraid of her, terrified. Even the video Lee Mingyu had shown as evidence, the slap Aunt Lee gave was in a moment of emotional agitation. But for Lee Mingyu, that didn't lessen her hatred for Aunt Lee. So what if she didn't abuse me? It was her who swapped me with Shinchi, ruining my life. Isn't it only right that I stabbed her to death? Even knowing Lee Mingyu was a born bad seed, I couldn't help but shiver at her words, especially when she suddenly held my hand and shook it playfully. Her cold palm felt like a slippery snake coiling around me. Lee Mingyu's voice held a hint of dissatisfaction. "Sister, you are my sister. You should be on my side. How can you help those bitches, Li Qian and Shin Qi?" "Sister, don't make me hate you two. I don't want to kill you." After Aunt Lee was out of danger, she received a court summons. I heard her freshly stitched wounds nearly burst open. She went crazy like a lunatic. "No, you can't sue me. I raised your child for all these years. You have to compensate me." She kept bringing up the wounds Lee Mingyu had given her. She said since Lee Mingyu was the Shun family's daughter, the Shun family should pay for her crimes. The wounds were bloody proof. But the lawyer pushed up his glasses and told her the paternity test results weren't ready yet, meaning it couldn't be confirmed that Lee Mingyu was my swapped sister, and the dispute between Aunt Lee and Lee Mingyu could only be defined as domestic violence. At that moment, Aunt Lee's face went completely gray. I stood outside the hospital room door and quietly called my sister. I asked if she wanted to come see Aunt Lee. After all, Aunt Lee was her biological mother. Once her wounds healed, she would probably have to visit her in prison. But my sister's attitude was firm. I don't want to see her. She is not my mother. My sister also asked me, Sister, is birth grace necessarily greater than nurturing grace? Ever since Li Mingyu had caused a scene at home, declaring herself the true Shen family daughter and my sister a fake, Aunt Li had approached her. She put on a sad, maternal face and taught my sister how to extract benefits from me and her parents. She said, You're not the Shen family's real daughter, no matter how good they are to you. They'll never love you as much as their real one. If you're smart, you'll learn to take their money and assets before they give up on you. I would never hurt you. Just do as I say. You haven't forgotten who your real mother is after being raised by the Shin family for 18 years, have you? Even without seeing it myself, I could imagine Aunt Lee jumping up and down. She pushed all the hardship and pain of her pregnancy onto my sister, as if without my sister, she wouldn't have suffered from being pregnant. She also said swapping my sister with Li Mingyu was for her own good. Otherwise, how could my sister have lived a prosperous life for 18 years? At the time, after hearing my sister's confused recounting, I couldn't help but sneer coldly. For her own good? If it was truly for her own good, why use birth grace to blackmail her emotionally into swindling money from us? I didn't force my sister to come see Aunt Lee. If possible, I wanted her to stay far away from such people forever. And it wasn't just Aunt Lee who couldn't let go of birth ties. It was also my parents. The reason they hadn't given up on Li Mingyu, even after witnessing her stab someone, was nothing more than that bit of blood relation. My mother bit her lip, her eyes full of pity. If Mingyu is truly our daughter, she must have suffered all these years. Even if she resorted to violence, she had her reasons. After all, Aunt Lee was the one who caused our mother-daughter separation all these years. When she comes back, we must make it up to her. I sighed internally. Is blood really more important than the affection built over time? In the car on the way home, my mother asked me quietly when the paternity test results would be ready. I closed my eyes and answered softly, Soon. I would choose an appropriate time to present the report to them, and then let them personally choose to give up on Li Mingyu, although the results weren't ready yet. My parents' attitude towards Li Mingyu had already slowly improved. They even started to ignore my sister, shifting all their doting love towards Li Mingyu. Li Mingyu was very pleased with this. She bragged in front of my sister several times, threatening that as soon as the results came out, she would be the first to kick my sister out of the house. I told you, you're just a cheap thing occupying a nest that isn't yours. Even your real mother is in jail now. Shen Qi, how many more good days do you think you have left? In the past, my sister would have been upset by her words, but I had promised my sister, even if Li Mingyu really was the Shen family's child, I wouldn't abandon my sister. Li Mingyu's provocation didn't cause any emotional reaction in my sister. She seemed to have already accepted the fact, even when my parents told her that the adult ceremony they were planning for her would have another main character. My mother held my sister's hand, her emotions complex. Chi-Chi, Mom knows you're unhappy, but Mingyu is my biological daughter after all. I can't ignore her. Although they knew my sister was innocent in the baby swap, she had been the beneficiary for 18 years. Perhaps they felt a hint of resentment, but they couldn't cut off the feelings built over so many years. So they could only avoid the issue and blindly compensate Li Mingyu. My sister nodded obediently. I understand, Mom. Her obedience only made my parents' hearts ache more. They even sighed in front of me. Chi-Chi is so good. Why can't she be my biological daughter? I didn't say anything. My attitude was very cold. See, They knew Li Mingyu was far inferior to my sister, but just because of that thread of blood relation, it was enough for them to overlook Li Mingyu's flaws. My sister's adult ceremony was very grand. Countless relatives, friends, and people from our social circle were invited. Gifts filled an entire room. But Li Mingyu grew even more unhinged. Because all the gifts were for my sister, I had deliberately delayed the paternity test results, not sending them to my parents, so they had their reservations and hadn't publicly acknowledged Li Mingyu's identity. In other words, at this adult ceremony, she was just a third wheel who had barged in. The only one truly envied and blessed by everyone was my sister. This was also the attitude I wanted to show my parents and Li Mingyu. The only sister I acknowledged was Xinqi. At my sister's adult ceremony, there was a giant cake. A long time ago, when she had hugged her little pillow and clung to my bedside, begging me to tell her a bedtime story, my sister had blinked her eyes, full of anticipation. When I have my birthday in the future, I want a super big cake, bigger than Chi-Chi's whole body. I had promised to give it to her, and now I had kept that promise. The surprise on my sister's face was genuine. Even though she was wearing an expensive little dress, she still excitedly threw herself into my arms, shouting, "Sister, sister," nonstop. My smile was warm as I patted my sister's head. I personally put my arm around her and accompanied her to receive the praise and blessings of our relatives and friends. My parents were very unhappy with my attitude. They pulled me aside during the event and scolded me privately. "What about Mingyu? She has completely lost face. No, you have to take Mingyu around the front too. Let her meet people." I calmly refused, seeing my parents' faces darken and hearing them bring up that Li Mingyu was my real sister. I couldn't help but laugh, setting aside the fact that the paternity test results aren't even ready. Just looking at all the things Li Mingyu has done since she was little. Do you really dare to acknowledge her? My parents' expressions instantly became awkward. Back then Mingyu was still young. It's normal for little kids to not know any better. Besides, Aunt Li is such an evil person. Isn't it right for Mingyu to hate her? I frowned deeply, looking at my parents in disbelief. She nearly stabbed Aunt Li's eye out at 3. She put mercury in Aunt Li's thermos at 10. You say that's normal. Then what about her leading a group of classmates to bully Chi-Chi at 18 and nearly stabbing Aunt Li to death? You don't see a problem with that either. Watching my parents' faces change, I sighed and, for the first time, told them about something that happened a long time ago. It was when my sister was 5. Back then, like my parents, I had attributed Li Mingyu nearly blinding Aunt Li to an accident. A child not knowing any better. So, doubting the bullet screen comments, I specifically brought her a gift to make up for things. But when Li Mingyu found out the gift I gave her was the same as the one I gave my sister, she stole a kitchen knife from the kitchen and chopped that gift to pieces. She also snuck into my room in the middle of the night and hacked wildly at my bed. I saw all this from the security footage. If my sister hadn't begged me to sleep with her that night, my life would probably have ended on that very night. It was from that time on that I completely gave up on Li Mingyu and kept my distance from her. My parents were speechless. They seemed to finally understand that a bad seed is a bad seed, regardless of age. But just then, my cousin rushed over, her expression tense. Seeing me, she cried out, "Something terrible has happened. Sister Ningning, Xiaoqi was pushed down the stairs." When I found my sister in a panic, she was a complete mess. Her originally beautiful dress was now covered in sticky cake and cream. There was a huge gash on her face. When I pulled her into my arms, my sister was trembling uncontrollably with fear. My cousin, who had just found me, was furious. She said, "It was Li Mingyu. Everyone saw it." That lunatic Li Mingyu had pushed my sister off the second floor in front of everyone. She had deliberately pushed her towards the half-sliced giant cake, trying to impale my sister's head on the plastic juju used to hold the cake layers. Luckily, my sister was fortunate and avoided the sharp plastic, only getting her face cut. That huge wound on her face looked nasty simply because it bled a lot. It wasn't a fatal injury. I kept stroking my sister's head, comforting her. "It's okay, Chi-Chi. It's okay. It's just a cut on your face. Cosmetic surgery is very advanced now. We'll just get a scar removal procedure." But my sister seemed scared out of her wits. She couldn't even cry. It was a long time before she could squeeze out a trembling "Sister." I was even more furious, rage boiling inside me. But the perpetrator looked completely unconcerned. "What's wrong? Sister? Why are you so angry? Shin-Chi isn't dead, is she?" I could no longer contain my fury. I slapped Li Mingyu hard across the face. Her expression immediately twisted into something ferocious. "Shin Ning, who do you think you are? How dare you hit me?" "So what if I pushed Shin-Chi down the stairs? She deserved it. She stole my life. She should die. Are you going to call the police and have me arrested for this?" "But, sister, I am your real sister." The crowd erupted in an uproar. Countless eyes flickered between Li Mingyu's face and my mother's. Because of their similar features, people started whispering. But my mother, who had previously shown so much favoritism towards Li Mingyu, was now just as furious. Her red-rimmed eyes were full of pain for my sister. For the first time, my mother got angry at Li Mingyu. "How could you lay hands on Chi-Chi? What if something really happened?" Li Mingyu shrugged, feigning innocence. "Then she dies. No big deal." "It's okay, Mom. Don't worry. I'll take Shin-Chi's place and be your good daughter." My mother's pupils dilated in shock. She pointed at Li Mingyu, her voice trembling. "Lunatic. You're a complete lunatic." They finally understood. More important than blood ties was a person's character. Li Mingyu was a thoroughbred lunatic. Even if she had been raised by our parents from birth, her personality wouldn't have changed one bit. In fact, she would probably be even crazier and more twisted. She looked at everyone with hatred and anger, even relatives and friends she had never met, who hadn't said a single word, had to endure her hatred for no reason other than that they hadn't defended her or helped her target Shin-Chi. My assistant, who had arrived in a hurry, broke the tense atmosphere. He was holding a sealed document pouch. Li Mingyu's expression instantly became excited. "Are the paternity test results out? Can you prove that Shin-Chi is a cheap thing who stole someone else's life?" She was so excited she was practically dancing. But my parents, who opened the document pouch, had their expressions instantly freeze. Then, their eyes filled with hatred for Li Mingyu, not only because she had hurt my sister, but also because she had played them for fools. The Jianding Baogao was passed around for everyone to see, finally ending up in my hands. But I had already seen this document countless times. Without even glancing at the paper, I threw the report at Li Mingyu. Her excited expression slowly faded, replaced by wide eyes and a frantic shaking of her head. "No, impossible. How can this be? Mom and I look so alike. How could I not be the Shin family's daughter?" Li Mingyu suddenly raised her head, her venomous gaze fixed on me. "Was it you? Did you tamper with the results behind the scenes? Just because Shin-Chi grew up with you, you gave up on me? Shin Ning, why are you so vicious?" I had no intention of wasting time arguing with Li Mingyu. After sending my sister to the hospital, I immediately called the police. On the charge of intentional injury, I had Li Mingyu taken to the police station. But while I was caring for my sister at the hospital, I received a call from the police station. They told me that Li Mingyu had mental problems, making a normal trial difficult, and while they were transferring her to a mental hospital, she had made an excuse about needing to use the bathroom and managed to run away. The officer's tone was serious, warning us to be careful of Lee Mingyu's retaliation. After thinking for a moment, I said, "Okay, a lunatic like Lee Mingyu was capable of anything." My sister's facial wound healed well. She was discharged from the hospital the next day and came home. I arranged for many bodyguards to patrol around the neighborhood. I gave everyone Lee Mingyu's photo and told them to be on guard against her entering my home. But even with all the precautions, a lapse occurred. Lee Mingyu crawled through a dog hole in the neighborhood, smashed a window on the first floor of my house, and broke in. She ranted and raved, cursing everyone, especially me and Shin-Chi. Her once somewhat pretty face was now full of manic rage. "You, all of you, deserve to die. You ruined my life. I'll make you all pay." She had set a fire as soon as she broke into my house. The flames blazed. In the spreading, darkening smoke, Lee Mingyu charged with a knife, trying to stab me. If my sister hadn't pushed Lee Mingyu aside in time, that knife would have pierced my throat. Failing once, Lee Mingyu, now even more deranged, charged again. Her mind was already unstable, and after inhaling too much toxic smoke, her brain was even more Hondan. She just kept repeating, "You deserve to die. You all deserve to die." I gritted my teeth, picked up a nearby wooden chair, and smashed it down on Lee Mingyu's legs. She cried out in pain and fell, howling and clutching her legs. My sister and I finally had a moment to catch our breath. We woke our parents and rushed to escape. By then, the fire, which had been spreading outside, was starting to burn into the living room. The expensive carpets, now acting as perfect fuel, fed the flames. Lee Mingyu finally panicked. She screamed my name. "Sister, sister, please don't do this to me. Sister, I know I was wrong. I am your real sister. Are you really going to let me die?" I glared coldly at Lee Mingyu, my steps not faltering as I protected my parents and sister and fled the fire. The last words I heard were Lee Mingyu's sharp wail. "Shin-Ning, I'll never let you go, even as a ghost." The fire burned everything in the villa, including the intruder, holding my panicked sister. Those strange bullet screen comments suddenly appeared before my eyes again. Whoa, how did this turn into a cool story about Shin-Ning killing Lee Mingyu instead? Did Shin-Ning get reborn or something? Hard to say. Did anyone see the previous plot? The female lead swapped the paternity test results. Swapping them is good. At least that bad seed sister got what she deserved. But the female lead is quite ruthless. That was her biological sister. After all, giving up on her just like that. What's with the saint upstairs? In the original plot, the female lead was killed by the bad seed sister. Why are you arguing? Let these saints be. They'll learn their lesson when someone hurts them. The words repeated, then slowly faded. Finally, I waved my hand, dispersing the words in the air, as if they had never appeared. It felt like I had escaped the original trap and reclaimed my own life. Later, my sister got into university, participated in competitions, and won countless scholarships. She became the excellent child that others constantly praised. But in front of me, she was still the same, often acting cute and liking to cling to me. Only sometimes, there would be dark circles under her eyes. Her gaze towards me would unconsciously hold tears. Puzzled, I asked her what was wrong. My sister wiped away tears that hadn't fallen, her voice low. "Sister, I dreamed that Lee Mingyu was your sister and kept bullying you. She nearly stabbed your eye out, put mercury in your milk, and even sold you to a poor mountainous area for money." I was slightly stunned, then slowly remembered. This was the future the bullet screen comments had said was meant for me. I smiled helplessly and stroked my sister's head. "Then why are you crying?" "Crying because I'm not your sister." My sister bit her lip and shook her head. I'm just so sad. You were in so much pain in the dream, and I was completely useless. She felt guilty, even over a baseless dream. She felt pain because she couldn't help me. I sighed and pulled my sister into my arms, comforting her. Okay, a dream is just a dream. It's all fake. See, isn't your sister doing just fine? My sister smiled through her tears and nodded firmly. She then playfully demanded that I take her shopping, because she had just received a scholarship. She wanted to buy me a gift. I agreed with a smile. In my mind, I couldn't help but think of myself as a child, struggling with the decision in front of the baby's crib. If I could, I would tell her, "Don't worry, you made the right bet. Blood ties really aren't that important. What matters most is who is closest to you." Next, let me tell you the second exciting story. I watched coldly as my sister and the nanny swapped my daughter. Watching my daughter Dong Xiao Xiao get slandered at school, I calmly played golf on the course. Because in my past life, in order to give my daughter the best future, I invested my heart and soul into every step. But my daughter, behind my back, secretly called my sister Mom and schemed to pull my oxygen tube, using my money to support her real mother. I was so angry I had a heart attack. But my sister kicked away my heart medication and laughed maniacally. Back then, I strangled your baby to death with my own hands, and I had someone remove your uterus. You've lived your whole life worse than your nanny. At least she has a cheap daughter. My heart stopped, but as I lay dying, it was our nanny who closed my eyes. Thank you for raising my daughter. Opening my eyes again, I returned to the day my daughter was being bullied by classmates. Are you Dong Xiao Xiao's parent? Many classmates are spreading rumors that she doesn't study and only fools around with boys. The college entrance exam is coming up. Please come to the school and deal with this. My heart felt no ripple. Instead, I put all my strength into swinging at the hole. A hole in one. Then I gave a cold, indifferent laugh. It's just rumors. No need to make a big deal. When the teacher on the phone started to scold me, I just hung up. Before I could even take my third shot, my biological sister, Lin Yuding, called me. What is the meaning of this? You're a mother, and your child is being slandered outside, yet you have the heart to play golf. Hearing Lin Yuding's hysterical roar, I just found her angry impotence amusing. I deliberately teased her. I know my own daughter. Xiao Xiao isn't your daughter. Why are you so worried? Lin Yuding stammered you, for a long time, unable to form a complete sentence. Just as I was about to hang up, Lin Yuding suddenly tried to appeal to my emotions. Her tone softened. I am Xiao Xiao's aunt. I'm just worried about the child. If Xiao Xiao is bullied at school, we parents would be so regretful, wouldn't we? And you're so rich. Just giving a few tens of thousands to those kids would shut them up. No matter how rich I was, I wouldn't raise someone else's daughter again. I learned my lesson from the suffering of my past life. Why would I let them take from me in this life? I just snorted coldly. Xiao Xiao has been spoiled since she was little. She needs to learn to be independent. I'll manage my own child. You don't need to worry. Then I turned off my phone. When I got home that night, the nanny, Zhang Ma, kept following me, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. I looked up at her while eating and asked tentatively, "What's wrong today?" "If you have something to say, just say it." Zhang Ma just stammered, her lips nearly bitten through. Then she pleaded softly, "I heard Xiao Xiao is being bullied at school. Only you can solve this. Maybe you could go to school tomorrow and talk to the teacher properly. Otherwise, it will definitely affect Xiao Xiao's college entrance exam." I slowed my chewing, a little surprised, seeing Zhang Ma so anxious and concerned about Xiao Xiao. I suddenly thought of what happened in my past life. As I was taking my last breath, I heard Zhang Ma say, standing by my hospital bed. Thank you for raising my daughter. In my past life, from the moment I brought newborn Xiao Xiao home, I noticed many things were off. My biological sister, Lin Yuding, whose own baby had died around the same time, wasn't sad at all. Instead, she was exceptionally good to Xiao Xiao. Every time she visited, she brought tons of things. She lived frugally herself, but would buy Xiao Xiao expensive formula and many impractical toys. I asked Lin Yuding about it. She just said I was making a big deal out of nothing. I'm Xiao Xiao's aunt. It's normal to buy her things, especially a little girl. She should be raised well, so she won't be led astray by bad people later. Although she was Xiao Xiao's aunt, her warmth and concern far exceeded that role. Every time she heard Xiao Xiao was being bullied at school, she was much angrier than I was. Even the teacher thought she was Xiao Xiao's real mother. But over time, I got used to it. I just thought she was using Xiao Xiao to cope with the pain of losing her own child. That was until I accidentally overheard a conversation between Xiao Xiao and Lin Yuding. Lin Yuding held Xiao Xiao tightly in her arms, crying uncontrollably. If our family weren't so poor, I wouldn't have sent you to your aunt's house to call someone else mom. Once your aunt has raised you to be successful, I'll bring you home, and we'll be reunited. Then Xiao Xiao won't have to call me aunt anymore. My heart lurched. I nearly fell to the ground, my mind going blank. What made my blood pressure spike even more was the sinister smile on Xiao Xiao's innocent, naive face. As she wiped Lin Yuding's tears, she said in a cold tone, "When she's old, I'll pull her oxygen tube early, take all her money, and give it to you. I'll support you in your old age." My tears immediately started flowing. Along with them came a sharp, severe pain in my heart. In my struggle, I accidentally bumped a door nearby, alerting the two. Seeing my pained, struggling expression, they exchanged a knowing smile. Lin Yuding slowly walked over to me and kicked my bag far away. She knew it contained my heart medication, my lifesaver. She bent down, curled her lips, and said, "No time like the present. Die today. Then Xiao Xiao and I can be reunited. Your money will be ours. That would be a good deed on your part." I didn't have the energy to respond to her words. I just desperately tried to reach my bag, but unexpectedly, Xiao Xiao, who had been standing aside, used all her strength to kick the bag even farther away. She looked down at me. "Thank you for taking care of me all these years, Aunt, but you have to die now. I want to go back to my real mother." At that moment, I closed my eyes in despair and asked her weakly, "What about my baby?" I just heard Lin Yuding's crazy, derisive laugh. "Back then, I strangled your baby to death with my own hands, and I had someone remove your uterus. You've lived your whole life worse than your nanny. At least she has a cheap daughter." My heart shattered. I stopped struggling, vaguely seeing the two of them walk away hand in hand. Later, a passerby found me and took me to the hospital. As I was about to take my last breath, Isao Jan Kama, the nanny, standing by my bed. She gently closed my eyes, her lips moving. "Thank you for raising my daughter." Only then did I understand. It was a case of the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Lin Yuding had tried to take over my nest. Jan Kama, the nanny, had swapped the babies like a magician, and I was the most innocent and tragic victim of all. In this life, I will definitely get my revenge. Seeing my indifference, Lin Yuding rushed directly to the school. She went into the classroom and dragged the teacher, who was in the middle of a lesson, out. She had no shame. "How can you be a teacher? My Xiao Xiao is being bullied and you blame the parents? If anything happens to Xiao Xiao, I'll report you." The homeroom teacher was completely confused. She suppressed her anger and patiently tried to calm Lin Yuding down. "Calm down. It's just classmates playing around. It's not as serious as you say." This just made Lin Yuding angrier. playing around? Is that how you treat being a teacher? Tell me which students are bullying my Xiao Xiao. I'll go deal with them. To avoid escalating the conflict, the teacher didn't dare say the students' names. She just kept trying to placate Lin Yuding. Zhang Ma suddenly called me and asked me to come to the school. By the time we got there, Lin Yuding was already in a physical fight with the homeroom teacher. The dean was trying to separate them, but Lin Yuding was too strong. She seemed to have an endless supply of strength. Zhang Ma, who had been silent until then, suddenly shouted, "Lin Yuding, stop fighting. This will affect Xiao Xiao's studies." Lin Yuding suddenly froze. She stopped and looked disdainfully at Zhang Ma. "Since when do I need an old housekeeper like you to lecture me?" Zhang Ma blushed and lowered her head deeply. But Lin Yuding, still in a rage, wouldn't let it go. She stood with her arms crossed, sizing up Zhang Ma. "Oh, I see. Was it your cheap daughter who bullied Xiao Xiao? You've always been jealous of Xiao Xiao because she's pretty and does well in school. So you told your cheap little brat to bully her, didn't you?" Zhang Ma's eyes widened instantly. She waved her hands frantically. "No. How could I ever hurt Xiao Xiao?" Zhang Ma indeed would never hurt Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao was her biological daughter, but Lin Yuding insisted. She pushed her tongue against her cheek, her eyes full of hatred, seeing that she couldn't catch the students bullying Xiao Xiao at school. Lin Yuding rushed directly to the classroom of Zhang Ma's daughter, Xiao Mei. Without a word, she grabbed Xiao Mei by her pigtails and dragged her into the hallway. Xiao Mei was terrified, completely panicked. Lin Yuding kicked her to the ground and started screaming at her. "Were you spreading rumors about Xiao Xiao at school? Do you and your mother envy Xiao Xiao? Is that why you've been scheming to spread rumors and ruin her reputation?" Xiao Mei, sobbing uncontrollably and wiping her tears with her hands, begged for mercy, her lips trembling. "Auntie, I really didn't hurt Xiao Xiao. I didn't spread the rumors either. It really has nothing to do with me." But Lin Yuding couldn't let Xiao Mei off easily. Without another word, she slapped her. Instantly, blood appeared at the corner of Xiao Mei's mouth. Lin Yuding glared, her eyes wide, pointing her finger at Xiao Mei. "You cheap thing. You're just a housekeeper's daughter. What good could you ever do? Just looking at you makes me angry. Get lost." With that, Li Yuding kicked Xiao Mei again. Xiao Mei scrambled back into the classroom in terror. Everyone present was shocked, but only I noticed Zhang Ma, Xiao Mei's mother, revealing a knowing smile. Ever since Xiao Xiao was slandered, Lin Yuding started coming to our house more frequently, rushing to be at Xiao Xiao's beck and call. Sometimes, the two would whisper together, but knowing the truth, I was no longer concerned about their schemes. Everything was already in my hands. I brought them a plate of fruit, then closed the door. After a moment, I heard faint whispers. I listened closely. Lin Yuding, convinced that Xiao Mei had harmed Xiao Xiao, encouraged her to spread rumors about Xiao Mei at school. "Don't worry, Mom. I won't let her off. She's just a housekeeper's daughter. She gets bullied at school anyway. It'll be easy to mess with her." Xiao Xiao called her Mom without hesitation. Even now, it still made my heart race. But this wasn't the time for me to be emotional. The following Monday, the homeroom teacher called me to the school. Lin Yuding insisted on coming along. In the teacher's office, we found Zhang Ma, Xiao Xiao, and a badly bruised Xiao Mei waiting for us. The teacher scolded me first. "How could you let your child bully others at school? We've investigated. Xiao Xiao and other students publicly beat Xiao Mei." Then she pulled Xiao Mei over and sighed. "Look, Xiao Mei is covered in injuries. The college entrance exam is coming up. What do you expect Xiao Mei to do?" I just gave a perfunctory apology, but Lin Yuding immediately couldn't sit still. She strutted over to the teacher. "Can a child like Xiao Mei compare to our Xiao Xiao? Have you considered that calling us here will affect Xiao Xiao's studies? Lin Yuding was notoriously unreasonable. The teacher had already learned her lesson. Knowing she couldn't win against her, she just sighed helplessly. Then you two families can work it out yourselves. With that, the teacher left for class. Seeing the teacher gone, Lin Yuding pulled Xiao Xiao over and gave her a thumbs up. Our Xiao Xiao is so capable. We don't need to be afraid of anyone, especially the daughter of a housekeeper. Hitting her is no big deal. Then Lin Yuding subconsciously glanced at me and added, Your mom can just pay for the medical expenses anyway. By now, I was basically their ATM. They only thought of me when they needed money. Xiao Xiao, coaxed by Lin Yuding, curled her lips into a smug smile. Meanwhile, Xiao Mei, cowering in the corner, pitifully hugged herself. No one paid her any attention, because Lin Yuding and Zhang Ma's eyes were all on Xiao Xiao. They treated her like the moon surrounded by stars. To hide my true intentions, I used the excuse of cleaning up Xiao Xiao's mess and took Xiao Mei to the hospital. While the doctor was bandaging Xiao Mei's wounds, I took the hair samples I had collected earlier from Lin Yuding and, just now, from Xiao Mei, and went into the hospital's lab. After an expedited process, I soon had the results. I breathed a sigh of relief. It was time to give them the ending they deserved. As the college entrance exam approached, a prestigious Gaiju school with top resources was admitting students, but spots were limited. I deliberately, in front of everyone, patted Xiao Mei's head. Auntie will give you this spot. Okay, Xiao Xiao was terrible before. Consider this my compensation. Xiao Mei's eyes suddenly lit up, but before she could say thank you, Lin Yuding, sitting nearby, exploded. Sis, this dead girl needs the exam, but our Xiao Xiao does too. I've never seen a mother favor an outsider like you. As soon as she finished, she turned and grabbed Xiao Mei's pigtails, warning her viciously, Don't think you can act pitiful and compete with Xiao Xiao for good things. Don't even think about it. You cheap thing. You belong rotting in a poor mountain ditch. Lin Yuding pulled Xiao Mei's hair so hard she wailed, nearly kneeling to beg for mercy. Auntie, I wouldn't dare compete with Xiao Xiao. Auntie, please let me go. Lin Yuding held on for a long time before letting go. Then she shot Xiao Mei a venomous look. She glanced at the unresponsive Zhang Ma and snorted coldly. You're just cheap. Your own mother doesn't care about you, and you dared to frame our Xiao Xiao. You'd be better off dead. Seeing Lin Yuding getting more and more agitated, I just smiled bitterly to myself. She would be the one regretting this bitterly one day. Since Lin Yuding was so insistent, I followed her wishes and sent Xiao Xiao to the Goiju High School. Lin Yuding, on the other hand, sent Xiao Mei to a dilapidated high school in a rural township, the kind with only 7 teachers for the whole school. Xiao Mei begged and pleaded, but it only earned her harsher treatment. Lin Yuding kicked Xiao Mei hard in the stomach with her high heels, her curses continuous. Not only that, Lin Yuding bribed the teachers at that school, paying them extra to take special care of Xiao Mei. When she got home, she just informed Zhang Ma, I sent Xiao Mei to a rural township. It'll be better than having her in the same school as Xiao Xiao. What is she even worth? It would be bad if she corrupted our Xiao Xiao. Zhang Ma stood silently, hands at her sides. Lin Yuding thought Zhang Ma was just weak and didn't dare to defy her, so she looked very pleased with herself. After dealing with Xiao Mei, Lin Yuding urged me not to be stingy with money and to give Xiao Xiao the best learning resources. She even pulled several flyers from her bag. They were for classes taught by famous teachers, costing 3,000 yuan an hour. I think these teachers are good. Xiao Xiao's college entrance exam is a huge deal. You have to arrange this for her. I'm counting on her to get into Tsinghua or Peking University. Then I asked her. Lin Yuding paused, glanced at me, and continued. then I, as her aunt, can bask in her glory. I agreed verbally, but in my heart, I was laughing at Lin Yuding's poor acting skills. I even thought, how did I not see it in my past life? I then observed Zhang Ma's expression. The more Lin Yuding worried about Xiao Xiao, the happier Zhang Ma seemed. It appeared Zhang Ma was the ultimate winner in the past life. In the blink of an eye, the college entrance exam was over. Xiao Xiao got into a prestigious 985 university. Lin Yuding was overjoyed. She personally hosted a lavish banquet to celebrate. She even took out all her savings and generously handed them to Xiao Xiao. You got into a 985. Auntie is so happy for you. Whatever you want, Auntie will give it to you. Her joy made her arrogant and careless. She nearly exposed herself several times. Meanwhile, Xiao Mei only got into a technical college. Lin Yuding interfered, enrolling Xiao Mei in a major for learning to operate excavators. Someone like you should just learn to drive an excavator. You think you can go to university. That's a pipe dream. But how could a girl learn to drive an excavator? Xiao Mei had to drop out and start looking for work at a young age. After getting this revenge for Xiao Xiao, Lin Yuding started scheming to get more money from me. Now that Xiao Xiao is going to university, you should start saving for her dowry. For example, start a company in her name. Find her a rich boyfriend. These are things you, as her mother, should be worrying about. I smiled and retorted, just to tease her. I'm the mother, and I'm not worried. You seem to be doing a lot of thinking for me. Lin Yuding immediately shut up, but she still tried to persuade me, urging me to arrange a bright future for Xiao Xiao. At our company's business functions, we often met children of other business owners. Finding a rich second-generation boyfriend for Xiao Xiao wasn't hard. After this was settled, Lin Yuding took Zhang Ma to find Xiao Mei, forcing Zhang Ma to find a husband for her. Lin Yuding pointed at a pork stall owner, who looked to be in his 30s. Then she roughly pushed Xiao Mei forward. You'll marry him. You'll have pork to eat every day. How great is that? You don't have a job anyway. You can sell pork at the stall. Your mother will feel at ease. Xiao Mei looked pitifully at Zhang Ma, crying almost hysterically. Mom, I really can't marry him. Please, go ask Aunt Yuding. I really can't marry him. But even with Xiao Mei so pitiful, Zhang Ma was unmoved. She just went along with the marriage. Lin Yuding was naturally satisfied. The pork stall owner felt he had gotten an incredible deal. He promised Zhang Ma he would treat Xiao Mei well. The next day, he took her to get a marriage license. Only after making sure Xiao Mei had no way to recover did Lin Yuding stop. She focused all her energy on the marriage between Xiao Xiao and the rich young man. She, the aunt, was more proactive than I, the mother. She arranged everything perfectly, just waiting for Xiao Mei to graduate and marry into wealth. On the other side, Lin Yuding also watched over me, making sure I saved a large sum of money for Xiao Xiao, so she would never have to worry about money. Money was no issue. I did everything she asked, sending her away satisfied. Before long, Xiao Mei secretly ran back to my house, crying heartbreakingly, Auntie, please save me. He beats me every day after he drinks, and he won't let me eat. He says I can't eat until I get pregnant. Seeing Xiao Mei covered in scars, my heart sank, but Lin Yuding just looked on, amused, without a shred of sympathy. You're already married to him. Do what he says. Why did you run back? If he wants you to have a baby, have one. If he hits you, endure it. What are you crying about here? You'll disturb Xiao Xiao's nap. Xiao Mei knew Zhang Ma wouldn't help her. Zhang Ma did everything Lin Yuding said. Begging her was useless. Losing all hope, she bit her lip hard and left my house, despondent. Shortly after Xiao Mei left, Lin Yuding started cursing again, heaping abuse on her. Seeing her having fun, I took out the DNA report between her and Xiao Mei and handed it to her. Lin Yuding took it impatiently and read it line by line. Her gaze fell on the final result. She was completely dumbfounded. Not only Lin Yuding, but Zhang Ma, standing nearby, also seemed to sense something. Her body instantly went rigid. Lin Yuding seemed possessed, muttering in terror. How can this be? Xiao Mei, she is my child. No imposible. This is impossible. Hearing the commotion in the living room, Xiao Xiao followed the sound out. Rubbing her sleepy eyes, she asked, "What's going on?" Lin Yuding's gaze immediately locked onto Xiao Xiao, as if going mad. She asked, "If Xiao Mei is my daughter, then what about Xiao Xiao? Whose child is Xiao Xiao?" I slightly raised my chin towards Zhang Ma, revealing a meaningful smile. Lin Yuding instantly understood. Like a madwoman, she lunged and grabbed Zhang Ma's collar, her eyes red. You swapped our children. Tell me, didn't you?" The truth was out. Zhang Ma had no reason to pretend anymore. She curled her lips. "Is there anything wrong with me finding a good home for my child?" Then she patted Lin Yuding's shoulder and smiled. "Go save your daughter. She might be pregnant any minute now." Lin Yuding instantly snapped out of it, forgetting everything else. She rushed out to find Xiao Mei. When Lin Yuding got to the meat stall, the stall owner was already assaulting Xiao Mei. Her screams for help could be heard from far away. Lin Yuding didn't care. She rushed over and grabbed the stall owner, screaming hysterically, "Let go of her!" But how could a woman resist a 200 gene, approximate 220 pounds, man? He slapped her to the ground. When Lin Yuding tried to fight back, the stall owner grabbed his cleaver and chopped at her abdomen. Lin Yuding immediately went into shock. Xiao Mei, standing by, was terrified, seeing the blood everywhere. She fainted. When Zhang Ma and I arrived at the hospital, Lin Yuding was wearing an oxygen mask, but she had survived. Zhang Ma, no longer her meek self, walked to the bedside of the barely alive Lin Yuding and spoke mockingly. "I really have to thank you. You spent this whole life doing so much for my daughter, Xiao Xiao. Now Xiao Xiao is about to reach the pinnacle of life. It wasn't in vain that I swapped the babies. I am completely satisfied." Lin Yuding, her eyes half closed, trembled all over. She clutched her chest in pain. It seemed her congenital heart condition was acting up. Lin Yuding and I both had congenital heart conditions. In my past life, I had died from a sudden attack because Lin Yuding refused to help me. Now, it was time for her to taste that same pain. The alarm sounded. Lin Yuding was rushed back into surgery, her fate unknown. On the other side, I suddenly got a call from a neighbor. "Something terrible has happened. Your Xiao Xiao has taken pills and tried to commit suicide." Before I could even process it, Zhang Ma had already rushed home frantically. Xiao Xiao was in her pajamas. Her face was pale. A bottle of sleeping pills was scattered on the floor. "Xiao Xiao! Xiao Xiao! Wake up! Mom is here!" Zhang Ma screamed Xiao Xiao's name while dialing 120 with her other hand. When Xiao Xiao was taken to the hospital, they pumped her stomach, but her bodily functions were already messed up. Hearing this, Zhang Ma was completely stunned. Forgetting her guilt over swapping the children, she knelt at my feet and begged, "I know I was wrong before, but please, for the sake of the many years Xiao Xiao has lived with you, please save her. Just save her. I'll let her be your daughter again. I'm begging you." Her words made me laugh. Would I dare to want a daughter who had schemed to pull my oxygen tube again? The things Xiao Xiao said in my past life had already made me die of anger. I didn't help the kneeling Zhang Ma up. I sat leisurely in a chair and said calmly, "Keep your own daughter. I don't have the good fortune to be Xiao Xiao's mother. Of course, the way things are now is your doing. What does it have to do with me?" Hearing my heartless words, Zhang Ma suddenly looked up. glaring at me hatefully, finally revealing her true face. I endured for so many years, giving you Xiao Xiao as a daughter. That was me respecting you. Don't push it. Xiao Xiao has suffered enough, not growing up by my side. Her real mother. If anything happens to her now, I will never let you off. I almost died laughing. Since when could beggars be so arrogant? I glanced at her, then pulled the termination contract from my bag and threw it, along with a pen, at her feet. Someone like, you can no longer be my nanny. How did I never see how deep your schemes were before? You really hid it well. Zhang Ma had lost her mind, her lips trembling. She let out a terrifying laugh, staring at the contract on the ground. Are you trying to force me to my death? How could she even ask that? They were the ones who killed me. I didn't say anything. I quietly watched her sign the contract. Then I took it and left. I was at work when I saw on my home security camera that there was an outsider. It was Zhang Ma. She was putting all my jewelry into a bag. She knew exactly where I kept everything. I wasn't panicked. I just took out my phone and called the police. I arrived at Zhang Ma's house with the police. We caught her in the act. Zhang Ma was very confused, her eyes wide. How did you know I took your things? The hidden cameras at home were installed after I was reborn. How could I tolerate them plotting against me again? I simply showed her the footage from the camera, letting her give up all hope. I understand you wanting to treat your daughter, but stealing is not right. Seeing her plan exposed, Zhang Ma knelt down and begged me. I really can't go to prison. No one will save Xiao Xiao. What did that have to do with me? I could only respect the fate of others. Y ignored Zhang Ma, turned around, and left. The evidence was clear. Zhang Ma was taken away by the police. Xiao Xiao was still in the hospital. Although her organs were failing, she could still speak. She was like a madwoman every day, muttering to herself, completely unable to accept that she was just a nanny's daughter. When I went to see her, she hypocritically begged me to pay for her treatment. I smiled and said, "You are Zhang Ma's daughter, and she's been taken away by the police. There's probably no one to save you." Xiao Xiao became hysterical. I am not that housekeeper's daughter. I have a mother. Her name is Lin Yuding. It seemed Lin Yuding's doting on Xiao Xiao hadn't been in vain. But I didn't believe Lin Yuding could still accept Xiao Xiao. She had nearly lost her life for Xiao Mei just now. I just shrugged at Xiao Xiao, curled my lips in a smile, turned, and left the room. After I left, I saw Xiao Xiao crawl to Li Yuding's room, begging her heartbreakingly to pay for her treatment. Then, I heard the sound of a teacup shattering inside, followed by Lin Yuding's low, crazed shout, "Who is your mother?" "Xiao Mei is my daughter. How could I pay for your treatment? You're dreaming." Xiao Xiao was completely stunned. Lin Yuding, who had doted on her so much, now treated her cruelly. The shattered teacup had even cut Xiao Xiao's face, but Lin Yuding showed no concern. Xiao Xiao trembled all over, looking in disbelief. "Mom, I am your daughter." "That Xiao Mei is the cheap one. Isn't that what you used to say? How can you say she's your daughter?" Lin Yuding was also weak, her chest heaving dramatically, but she still glared at Xiao Xiao and said in an unyielding tone, "Xiao Mei is my daughter. You are the housekeeper's daughter. Now get out." Xiao Xiao, who had been full of hope, finally lost all heart. She lay on the cold floor, just laughing bitterly to herself. "I didn't expect you to treat me like this." After a tense standstill of a few seconds, Xiao Xiao suddenly jerked her head up and glared hatefully at Lin Yuding. Then she pulled herself forward, crawling to Lin Yuding's bedside. She raised her hand and went for the power cord of the oxygen equipment. What are you doing?" Lin Yuding couldn't move at all. She could only watch helplessly as Xiao Xiao unplugged the power. No matter how much she called for help, her voice was too weak. No one could hear. After pulling the oxygen tube, Xiao Xiao let out a relieved smile. Since you don't love me either, then you can just die. You love that cheap daughter so much? I'll send her to hell to keep you company. Hearing that Xiao Mei might be in danger, Lin Yuding's struggling grew louder. Her eyes were wide with terror, but without oxygen, her voice grew weaker and weaker. She kicked a few times, then fell completely unconscious. Watching my biological sister die, my heart felt no ripple. It only felt like justice had been served. The hatred from the past life was finally released. When the doctor arrived, Lin Yuding had already stopped breathing. They covered her with a white sheet, but I still thought about it. In my past life, why was my biological sister so cruel as to watch me suffer a heart attack and do nothing? In my past life, I had been nothing but sincere towards her. I had never wronged her. But at least it was over now. Fate had formed a perfect circle. Xiao Xiao, after all that struggle, was getting weaker and weaker. She could only lie in bed, relying on oxygen to live. I just watched her quietly. This daughter I had treasured in my past life. In my past life, I had been so attentive to her, giving her the best I could. But she conspired with her real mother to harm me. All the effort and care I had poured in vanished in an instant. That sense of betrayal still sent a sharp pain through my heart, lingering, refusing to leave. Xiao Xiao's breathing was extremely shallow. It seemed she might stop breathing at any moment. Seeing me standing nearby, Xiao Xiao reached out to grab me, but she was too weak. In the end, she just let her hand fall. But the hatred in her eyes towards me was still very clear, as if I had ruined her life. Xiao Xiao, almost gritting her teeth, accused me word by word. If you hadn't produced that DNA report, Lin Yuding wouldn't have known I'm not her daughter. You ruined everything. How can someone like you be worthy of being my mother? The Xiao Xiao before me was beyond redemption. Hatred born from love had led her to kill Lin Yuding, and she even blamed all this tragedy on me. But who would ever know my pain? I just laughed coldly, looked down at her, and curled my lips. You're right. I'm not worthy of being your mother, and I never thought of you as my daughter. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know how I died. Xiao Xiao, lying in bed, suddenly froze. Her nerves instantly tensed. Her lips trembled. You know I killed Lin Yuding. You saw. I just smiled faintly in response. Seeing this, Xiao Xiao finally sighed, self-mockingly, as if losing all her strength. Forget it. I have nothing now. I'm not afraid of anything anymore. Just as she finished, hospital staff arrived with the police at Xiao Xiao's room. They wanted to question her. They had found surveillance footage of Xiao Xiao crawling into Lin Yuding's room. But before they could even finish speaking, Xiao Xiao suddenly stopped breathing. The doctors tried to resuscitate her, but it was useless. Lin Yuding and Xiao Xiao ended up as two urns of ashes. They got what they deserved. On the other side, I helped Xiao Mei sue the pork stall owner for divorce. I hired a lawyer who was very good at litigation. Xiao Mei won the case. After helping Xiao Mei divorce him, I found her a suitable job. She no longer had to suffer like before. Although Xiao Mei was Lin Yuding's daughter, the state she had ended up in was very unfortunate. She had always been bullied by Lin Yuding. Lin Yuding had pushed her step by step into the abyss. Xiao Mei was very grateful. She would come to my house every week on her days off to cook, clean, and even bring me gifts. But thinking about it, Xiao Mei was also an innocent child who had suffered in this whole affair. I couldn't bear to let her live outside, alone and helpless, so I officially took her as my goddaughter, doing my best to help her towards a better life. And my own life was no longer lonely, simple and plain. I had returned to the life I had once longed for.